Welcome to the Awakening Women Show. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, a former counselor with a background in counseling psychology. I'm a mentor for high-achieving, ambitious women with over 13 years in the mental health and empowerment space. I've guided hundreds of women and have influenced over 100,000 through my platforms, podcast, and other courses, programs, and mentorship. I'm also the creator of the Relationship Clarity program, formerly known as End the Cycle, which you will hear me mention a lot of times as we go through the episodes. This program is to help women break free from destructive relationship cycles and come to clarity and power about their next step. This show is for the woman who knows her relationship struggles go deeper than the usual conflict. You know there's something more going on, but you can't quite nail it down or pinpoint what that is. You'll find clarity here, empowerment, truth, and validation. Clarity on whether your relationship can be healed or whether it's time to reclaim your life and move forward. What started as me sharing my own experiences quickly became a movement because the truth is, so many ambitious, successful women are stuck in confusing and draining relationship dynamics while trying to rise in every other area of their life, career, motherhood. This is you, you're not alone, and you don't have to keep living this way. Inside this podcast, you'll hear some of my most downloaded episodes, plus fresh content designed to help you break patterns, reclaim your wholeness, and decide once and for all if this relationship is where you belong. I'm so glad you found this space. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Awakening Women podcast. So in this episode, I'm playing an episode from the archives that is all about creating emotional boundaries. One of the things that women can get words and a lot of talking to draw their boundaries or assert themselves. What happens when you have already done that and have asserted yourself and it's not making a difference in a relationship? Then they keep trying and trying and trying with more words, texting, talking, and you realize that it's not getting anywhere. And so part of boundaries is also learning when it's time to stop talking and when it's time to start acting and using your energy and your presence or absence of your presence as the boundary. So in this episode, we're talking about emotional boundaries specifically, because this is where I see women get really stuck. And then as soon as they come into my program or they work with me, the first transformation that a lot of them will say they have received is this emotional ease, like a new emotional weight has been lifted just from going through the process that I teach. Because this is we shift emotionally first, and then everything starts to rearrange around us according to when we shift from within, we shift from the emotional level and the identity level. So let's dive into this episode so you can learn more about what emotional boundaries are. Enjoy. Let's talk about the power of emotional boundaries. Even if you still feel like you love your spouse, even if you are in the place of should I stay, should I go, how do I know? It is important to do this emotional boundary work. If you're not ready to do the physical boundary of exiting the relationship at this time, you can still work on your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual boundaries as it pertains to how you're going to conduct yourself within this dynamic. Now, one thing to keep in mind that when you are with someone who is narcissistic, they're a boundary bully, they're not going to take well to this. It's not like they're going to go, oh, okay, thank you so much for letting me know. Let me just, respect what you have to say, respect you, respect your limits and your needs. This kind of work is really difficult to do when it comes to someone who is pushing up against them and intentionally crossing them. You will notice with these types that exactly what it is that you tell them you don't like, they're going to make damn sure that they keep doing it, in fact. Or if you tell them something you need them to do, they're going to make damn sure that they don't do it, or they do it once in a blue moon to drive you up the wall. It's another tactic for control. And so the reason why you're doing this work is it is about self-protection. And this is the work that I do with women, is when we're working on these things as they're exiting and as they're trying to figure out how they're going to do this, it's very much about setting your emotional boundaries, and you can't expect them to change what they're doing. You have to drop that. That has to be one of your internal boundaries. I am detaching from what they're doing. because I've worked with women, and I don't work with all women in these situations anymore. It's by an application only basis. I don't work with women when they are still in a place of trying to change their partner. The work is about fully detaching from what they're doing, what they're not doing. If they're a narcissist, if they're not a narcissist, who cares? It does not matter at this point. You have been informationed to death. You are overwhelmed because you have so much information, but it's not changing your life circumstances. So then we need to know, okay, so this isn't working. What do I need to do? You need to look at the emotional addiction to the chaos and the adrenaline and the cortisol. And I go into this in depth inside of my should I stay or should I go class. I talk about the chemical addiction and what's really behind this when it comes to traumatic relationships. So make sure that you head to the link in the show notes to watch that class, because you're going to learn about exactly what's going on here and why you haven't been able to walk away despite having someone that is actively crossing your boundaries, which is the deepest form of disrespect, is when someone is setting a limit with you and you keep doing it over and over and over again. So emotional boundaries are a place to start. That's what we're going to talk about here in this episode, is emotional boundaries. So that means that I get to choose how I'm going to think, feel, and behave no matter what they are doing. I'm going to choose to do something to uplift myself and my mood and my state, even when they are not, or even when they are behaving in XYZ manner. I'm not going to allow myself to get sucked into the emotional quicksand with them in these ongoing circular arguments that go nowhere. That's an emotional boundary. I'm not going to get into those interactions anymore. And you will find you will still do it. You're still going to get into it because of this emotional entanglement pattern. But over time, you start to learn the skills for how to actually do this effectively. And when you're with someone that has zero respect for your boundaries, you can bet they're going to push back on these things. But this is about you taking full ownership of your state. Now, are you going to be able to do it fully within this? No, but this is going to be very powerful for you to learn how to start doing it, because this is part of breaking the emotional addiction. And again, I talk more about the emotional addictive pattern in the class. I can't get into it on this podcast. It's a full hour that I go in depth with slides and images and, there's text and different things in that are going to help you integrate what I'm teaching you. So make sure to grab the class. But it's really important. Emotional boundaries are also, hey, this is how I feel. This is my truth. You don't get to tell me how I feel, how I should feel, how I shouldn't feel. That is also an emotional boundary. It is what is okay with you and what's not okay with you to protect your emotional well-being. What are you going to allow in your space? Now, I have coached countless women who are having their boundaries trampled on over and over and over within their relationships, and really just insane stuff. And my heart goes out to women who are experiencing this, because, if you're in this and you're seeing how bad it is, maybe they're even putting your children at risk. I've coached women who have shared things like that. You have to be able to see how knee deep or eyeballs deep you are in this and take ownership of getting yourself out of it and any children. And I really can't stress enough how serious it is. This isn't just a joke about, oh, the toxic man, this and that. Like, there's a lot of fluff online. But I have been in the trenches working with women in these dynamics for the last 6 years, specifically specializing in this. But even beyond that, when I opened my counseling practice, I worked with women who were experiencing this stuff, but they didn't know. They just knew they had depression or an eating disorder, or there was something going wrong, that they were feeling like they were going crazy. And I was able to pinpoint what was going on and give them clarity and a way forward. So at least they had the awareness of what was going on. But it's very important to recognize the seriousness of it. You actually have every full right to stay in something that is slowly killing you. You have the right to choose. But the sad part and the hard part is that the children don't. And we can get caught in this, I need to stay for the children to keep the family together. Yes, do absolutely every single thing you can to keep a family intact. But when there is abuse present, that's when that goes out the window. And many women are going back and forth. Well, is it abuse? Is it not abuse? Again, that is part of the emotionally addictive patterning. It's become normal for you, so you don't really recognize what it is. And that's really unfortunate, and it's not easy to see your way out of. This is why I have really been going much deeper in my work with the emotional component to this, because it's everything. Yes, we have to look at your thought patterns, your belief patterns, your habits, and the things that you are doing every day. There's action, right? But unless we are looking at the emotional root of things, changing how you think and doing affirmations or just going to therapy to talk out the situation is not going to do much for you. And if it was going to, you would already have figured that out by now, right? If you already knew what you needed to do to get out of this loop, you would have done it by now, because I know you've tried it all. I know. I've seen it all and I get it. I have no doubt that you are the furthest thing from lazy, and you are resourceful, but you're just looking in the wrong spot. You're missing the root cause. So my genius is finding the root cause. That is one of my skill sets, is getting right to the depth of what's really going on here. And this is what I do in my one-on-one coaching. So I have opened up some spots for one-on-one coaching. I haven't done this formally in quite some time. And I'm taking a limited number of women on every month, or maybe every other month, depending on my capability and my capacity and room. So what you can do if you would like to work with me in depth, privately, on all of this, on breaking the emotional addiction so it's no longer a part of who you're being anymore. Whether it's in this relationship or a relationship down the road, we need to heal the root cause of this so you can truly, fully be free. And so I work in depth with you on this on a holistic level, on how do you actually start to shift out of this so that you can make a decision about this relationship from clarity, confidence, without regret. You can head to the link in the show notes to fill out an application. I vet women individually. And so there could be a whole bunch that come in as far as applications go, but I'm only going to be selecting a few of those where I have room, and only with women who are at the level that they need to be to work with me privately. You have to be at a level where you've already tried everything else and you're really you've exhausted every option. You're already doing the work. You've done the work as far as work goes, and you still feel stuck, and you're ready for a way forward. You're ready to, burn the bridge and go. You just want the guidance, support, mentorship. So with the emotional addiction and the emotional aspect, it's crucial that we have mastery over our feelings, because our feelings can drive the bus and drive us right into the ditch if we're not mindful of it. Women are very much emotionally led. We are the emotional center of a home. And so that part of us we have to honor. That's our feminine side. That is who we are. But a lot of women are disconnected from what they actually feel. So they're emotionally led, as in they're unconsciously triggered. They're unconsciously caught in dynamics that they don't actually even understand themselves. And so they're operating from repressed and unhealed emotional traumas and experiences, but they're very cut off from what they are actually truly feeling underneath. And so the emotionally addictive patterns is what they use to numb the pain. And again, I go further into this in my Stay or Go Masterclass. If you want more of a deeper dive on this trauma aspect of this, make sure you take the class. So if you are ready to do this work, if you're ready to look at yourself emotionally and look under the hood and actually feel what is going on and unearth it and move it so you can get out of the loops, get out of the cycle, get out of the patterns of behavior that keep leading you to the same place, you can start with testing out and playing around with your emotional boundaries to start with. And you can start with just paying attention to how other people impact your emotional state. This doesn't just have to be your partner. It could be anyone. It could be talking with a parent. It could be a particular friend. It could be your children. And then you're easily emotionally impacted by what they're doing. You don't have any grounding in that. So this isn't about being shut down and numbed out. It's about being aware of, okay, I can feel this coming up in my body right now. This is the feeling. And is this mine? And ask yourself, is this mine to feel? Because we can't help someone else by meeting them at their level. And we don't want to weaken our power and our self-integrity by acting at the level of other people's unconscious and unhealthy behaviors. And so we have to take ownership for that. All right. So that's what I wanted to share with you in this episode. Chat with you in the next one. Bye for now. If you're feeling stuck in your relationship and you're wondering, can it be fixed, or is it actually holding you back from the life that you deserve? This is exactly why I created the Relationship Clarity Method. It's a step-by-step system that helps you see what's really going on, break the patterns that keep you stuck, and make the decision that serves your highest level growth. Whether that's fixing it or walking away with your power intact, this step-by-step process will give you clarity either way. Hundreds of women have used this method to finally get clarity, stop the confusion, and step into a happier, more fulfilling life. To get instant access, go to leanneoaten.com/clarity to get started today and take the first step toward real freedom in love and life. All right, back to the show.